Brought to you by Southern Trust Home Services, 540-208-3425. Get into a Southern state of mind. And greetings, it's meteorologist Jamie Singleton with you here in serious mode tonight because, listen, we've got a big storm system that's starting to move into the area now. And for your day on Halloween, for tomorrow, Thursday, it's going to get active in multiple ways. We're looking at not only for that heavy rain threat, which I've been talking about, the rainfall amounts may not be quite as large as I was maybe expecting. Maybe I was going 2 to 5 yesterday. I still think some locations will get to about 5 inches, but I think 1 to 4 is a good safe bet. I think we'll still have some areas that get a little bit more than that, but we're also looking at strong wind and the potential for tornadoes outside of any storms that develop for the day tomorrow. So I want to talk about that. Some of these tornadoes are actually, in my opinion, possible earlier in the day than what's being advertised. Even though we're going to see that line, that second line come in during the evening, we could actually see an initial area come into the New River Valley and the Mountain Empire. So that will be earlier in the day, earlier in the morning, around 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 o'clock. If you're watching anywhere west of Roanoke, even up into the Allegheny Highlands, you are not excluded in the tornado threat for tomorrow. Let's take you right to what's going on. This is the local radar picture as of 9 o'clock or about 9:04 if you're watching live here on our Wednesday night. And you can see we've got areas of rain that just continue, and this will be the theme of the evening. Nothing too heavy, but already at the TV station, we're about 4/10 of an inch in the rain gauge, and I expect many areas too are on up there a little bit in terms of rainfall. What happens a lot, you can see a southeast wind below this that banks up moisture against the Blue Ridge Parkway and the mountains. That tends to wring out more in the way of moisture. And with our last system, Franklin County, in terms of rainfall in Patrick County and areas like that, all the way down into North Carolina, ended up with about 2 to 4 inches of rain, while everyone else had about an inch or so. So this is going to be a potential flash flooding event or a flooding event for some areas that see that enhanced rainfall. And the models are still kind of honing in on that. But even at this late hour, we're seeing things kind of increase in intensity a bit. If you look around Radford, it's raining pretty hard. southward right now, down through Reiner and western Floyd County. In the Covington and Lewisburg, we've got some light rain here, but West Virginia around Union also seeing some heavier rainfall and some fairly steady rain from Ridgeway, Martinsville, Henry County down into North Carolina. This is all moving up to the northeast, and again, this is just along ahead of a cold front that's way off to the west. There it is across Kentucky, and that front's got multiple areas of low pressure that tracks along it that pulls that moisture into the area in terms of rainfall. But what it also does when you get an area of low pressure is it backs the winds a little bit, and it forces the winds at the surface to go into it while the winds aloft are coming out of a different direction. And so when we get storm systems that move in like this, that's where we see the potential for tornadoes. All right, so let's look at what's going on right now, because we do want to give you an idea of what's already happened with this system. It's already snowed in Colorado. This is the same system that's been fueling those strong Santa Ana winds out in California, the devastating wildfires there. And now as you open up the Gulf of Mexico, you've got a steady supply of moisture that has come from the Gulf all the way back into our area, and we have an exceptional amount of moisture in our area right now, but it's going to get worse as we go into the day tomorrow with values of moisture for this time of the year approaching record levels, and that's going to put down a lot of rain. But we also are concerned with the severe weather threat. You can already see down across the panhandle of Florida, they've had a few severe thunderstorm warnings and a couple of tornado warnings already. And that's, again, just a sign of the energy with the system and how it is indeed moving into the area. So that's a look at what's going on, and you can even see some snow on the back side of the system. That's going to get in here, not the snow, but the snow flurry activity in the mountainous areas by the time we go into your Thursday evening. Big dip in the jet stream gets more pronounced here if you go up to about 18,000 feet coming in out of the west with our area. And what that does is, instead of opening up the Gulf and giving us just heavy rain, when you see a storm system come out of the west, those winds aloft are able to go over the winds at the surface at about 90 degrees angle. That gives us a lot of directional shear. So a lot of our tornadic events happen with a short wave. You see that little wave right there that's pretty pronounced, but is just the north of our area, and that's indeed what's happening here. So this is tomorrow evening, but again, this will act to help enhance the wind shear, and that's what a tornado needs to start spinning. Now, one thing that I'm worried about for the morning hours of tomorrow would be the threat for this heavier rain to develop in the morning, but also the threat for these storms to rotate even in the morning if we get a wave moving through the area. Temperatures right now are already going up. And as we look at this HRRR model here, you can see how they jump into the 60s and nearing in on 70 across Southside, even well into the 70s as early as lunchtime tomorrow. So our temperatures through the night will actually be going up, and sometimes it's the movement of that warmer air. In other words, it's sort of like a warm front that can produce the spinning nature of storms more than the cold front, which is slated for tomorrow evening. Not saying that's going to be the case, but along the warm front, sometimes you can get some tornadoes. In fact, that's what happened in Franklin County earlier when we, in the spring, when we had that EF3 go through. But we also need a focus for that spin. In other words, we've got lots of parameters that can show us that it's spinning out there, or that there's wind shear involved in the system. But usually you need a third front or something to kind of focus that spin, if you will. And I'm not sure if I see that, but that doesn't rule out the chance of a tornado either. So it could go either way tomorrow, but just to let you know, the Storm Prediction Center, again, this afternoon upgraded the area to a enhanced risk of severe weather, and that pretty much includes all of the area, and even in the Mountain Empire all the way back past Bristol, you're in the slight risk. I should also point out that we've had tornadoes here before in marginal risk, and we've had moderate risk where you don't get a tornado. So it doesn't guarantee anything, but it does give you an idea of the seriousness of the system, and where usually this mainly to me doesn't correspond with the intensity of the storms, but the number of storms that will be occurring. And the Storm Prediction Center is fairly robust on what they're doing across what the storms will be doing across our area in terms of the percentage of seeing severe weather. I'll show you that in just a second. But this is the surface feature as we go through the next 24 hours to 48 hours. You can see that front's off to the west. Notice there's an absence of a warm front here. We don't really see a lot in the way of, let me take this down, it's eating up my bandwidth. We don't really see a major warm front feature moving through, but if we see any area of low pressure develop on that could still back those winds. So usually I'd like to see, if I was looking for a big tornado chance here, I'd like to see some kind of pronounced wedge in place, and then the erosion of such wedge. So we'll see tomorrow if that actually develops or not. If it does, we get a big contrast. The severe weather threat ramps up. But this is going to be something that'll be going on all day. We may get a break at points in the day, but I think the morning we've got a threat of these showers and storms, and even severe storms in the morning, and maybe a tornado in the morning, even in the mountainous areas. And then for the afternoon, on and off again, showers, and we'll have to watch for any storms that pop out ahead of this front. By this time tomorrow night, most of the activity will be to our east. The front will be right on top of us, and even some rain behind the front. So you don't want to forget about the severe weather threat, but also the flooding threat that's out there as well. And then behind everything, it's going to be dry for Friday and the Saturday, which is why I've been posting on Facebook about maybe moving your activities to Friday, Saturday night, because really tomorrow's going to be a no-go in terms of going outside. You do not want to be away from your safe place, let alone trick-or-treating, walking around neighborhoods and stuff tomorrow evening, anywhere from during the day all the way through the evening hours, and especially with that line coming through during the 5-6 o'clock time frame, lasting through about 9 o'clock. This is wind shear currently over the southeast. You can see it there creeping up the Tennessee Valley. And then as you go into the next 6 hours, as early as tomorrow morning, this ends, let's see, this is 6 hours out. So, we're looking at late tonight, early tomorrow morning, a fair amount of wind shear there in the bold around Bristol, going through the southern NRV and into North Carolina around Statesville. So again, tomorrow morning, don't be surprised if we get some warnings out, severe thunderstorm warnings or even tornado warnings, and that may be something that steals the thunder from the afternoon system. No pun intended there. You can barely see it here, but I wanted to show you that the Storm Prediction Center within that area of enhanced risk has a 30% chance of seeing severe weather tomorrow. That is quite a number. May not seem like a 30% chance, may not seem like that big a deal, but that's actually a significant number in terms of putting out in a percentage what we're going to see out there. We look at something called the significant tornado parameter, and this takes into account the wind shear I was talking about, the spin in the atmosphere, and it really starts to jump up here. This is off Weather Bell by around lunchtime. And let me scroll down so you can see it a little bit better. You get numbers above 2 in this area, and that's very significant. So this is by, let's see, let's go back to the morning here. It starts to creep in to Wytheville, Tazewell, Bland counties. You are not excluded from this tornado threat by any stretch of the imagination throughout the mountainous areas tomorrow. In fact, you would argue almost as we jump into the 5s on the significant tornado parameter, which is almost unheard of in this area. That goes all the way up in the West Virginia, east of Charleston, and you start to get the 2s popping up around Roanoke and Blacksburg and Pulaski and Radford. We may see a situation where this warm air bubbles up in the mountains first and the wedge maintains itself over the Roanoke Valley. And if that's the case, there would be an enhanced area of tornado potential across the mountains. So I encourage you before lunchtime tomorrow to, especially if you're in the NRV and south side parts near North Carolina and in the Mountain Empire, stay weather aware all day. not just an evening thing. This could be a morning thing for a lot of you in the mountainous areas. And look, we jump into the 6s, 7s, and 8s. That's incredible. This is in the Greenbrier Valley of West Virginia. Tornadoes can occur in the mountains. They can go up and over mountains if the ingredients are right. And look at that. That's at 3 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. All the way back across Wytheville, Tazewell, Giles County here, all of the counties pretty much off and to the west of Roanoke and now getting into the foothills are in this really high significant tornado parameter threat. Now, that alone doesn't guarantee a tornado. As I mentioned, you have to have a lot of things that come together just right to produce a tornado. But it gives you an idea of the potential. It's looking at instability. How buoyant is the air? We need it to rise. It's looking at moisture. We've got a ton of that. We don't have much instability, but we do have, out of the 3 ingredients, the third one's wind shear. We have a ton of wind shear and wind energy tomorrow. And I'll talk about not only the tornado threat, but the fact that tomorrow is just going to be a windy day outside of any showers and storms. And then within the storms that come through in the evening, straight line winds that can pull down some very high wind and damaging wind there as well. So we're concerned about power outages and other types of severe weather outside of just tornadoes. But right now we are focused on tornadoes here going into 4 o'clock. Look at Covington here. Look at Allegheny County through Highland County and Bath County especially. Roanoke, it's at 4 on a significant tornado parameter. Again, anything over 1 or 2 is going to grab your attention here. And then as you go, let me move over to the other side. Right side monitor. Futurecast cloud cover here. This is off the high-res NAM. You can see a few blue spots here. These are potential breaks in the clouds that could occur tomorrow that would enhance or getting any sunshine. It enhances your instability quite a bit. And so you don't want to see a lot of sunshine tomorrow. If you do, you're probably looking at a better chance of severe weather. Looking at different areas of wind at different parts of the atmosphere. So this is showing you the wind vectors. They're coming in, or the barbs rather, coming in out of the south-southeast there in the white little barbs. And then as you go up to mid-levels of the atmosphere, you see them there coming out of the southwest there in the green. And then as you go into the yellow, you can see that turning that's taking place. That's your wind shear. You combine that with the shaded areas, that's instability. So we don't have a lot of instability tomorrow. This is actually as early as tonight, as I mentioned, tonight into tomorrow morning, the instability starts to increase actually ahead of this front. But the wind shear already in the morning is very, very impressive to me. And so we maintain that all day tomorrow. That means that even though the models are only showing that one line moving through, there could be tornadoes or severe storms and the accompanied flooding that could occur well ahead of that. So you have to watch that sometimes more than the main line itself. This doesn't really show a lot unless you look at the legend. This is if you took a column of air and you were able to squeeze out all the moisture in it, how much moisture would you see? And we call that precipitable water. When you get values that are this high this time of the year, it's very rare. Models have been very consistent here on showing between 300 and 400% of normal values for potential heavy rain tomorrow. In studies, local research has indicated that when you have conditions like that, you see flooding. And so any rain that develops tomorrow, any storms, will be able to put down a lot of rain in a short amount of time. Very efficient rain producers. The radar picture, according to several different models, looks like this. And again, I don't really like to just show models, but give you an idea of what's going on. But I wanted to show you the nature of these computer models. And I'm going to take down, let's see, let me take down my mug here for a second. That's the wrong one. I know I've got one of these. There we go. All right, so now you can see Roanoke's right here. That's Danville and Martinsville. This is, let me rewind us here a little bit. We'll go into the morning hours of, well, this was today. Let's go through tonight, and you can see that areas of rain out there, and again, nothing severe tonight. But as we step it up here and we go into the morning hours of your Thursday, see, we kind of see some breaks here and there. Look at these heavier storms that will be around coming across Boone. This is as early as 7, 8 o'clock in the morning. And these are already moving in the south side as well. This is according to the WRF ARW core, which is what we call a convective model. It's made for modeling storms out of the Storm Prediction Center. And there could be some spinning in these storms tomorrow morning. Okay, I can't say that enough. It won't just be an evening thing. This could be a morning event. And as you go through the late morning, mid-morning hours here, 8, 9, 10 o'clock, we've got some indication here on the modeling of these storms even spinning around Lynchburg and Roanoke. You can't be too exact with this, but you can look at the shapes of the storms and get an idea of what the model sometimes is trying to show you. So I would be very careful and not let your guard down first thing in the morning tomorrow. As these continue to move into northern Virginia, they'll encounter some stable air, but they'll also have the tendency to want to spin as well. And then you can see off here to the west, you can start to see the new storms that develop here, even over Wytheville. You've got a hook there showing up on the modeling, and you've got some activity that's starting to hook there within the line that's off to the west tomorrow. We advance it forward. This is by 2 o'clock. So we've already had a lot of rain up to this point, and you can see what happens here. That line starts to organize and really showing within that line discrete cells. So it could be a situation where you are looking at, you know, either a line that holds together more as a straight line wind event, or you're looking at discrete cells, which would give you a better chance of seeing tornadoes. And one of the things that sometimes happens is you get both. You get tornadoes that spin up within that line. The line will be coming through, it looks like after 2, 3 o'clock, so around 3, 4, 5 o'clock, from 2 to 5 for the NRV into the Roanoke area, and then from 5 to 6, 7, 8 o'clock for the rest of the area. And by the way, these streaks out behind here, those are snow showers that will be coming in along with the wind. If you were to look at another opinion here, you can see that we've already had the rain falling across the area now, and then as we go through the night, again, things may taper off from time to time, but we already see on this model, this is another version of the SREF that I'll look at, you've got very heavy rainfall and some very heavy storms in the mountainous areas. Again, this is tomorrow morning. By lunchtime, it's pushed through the area. Some of these storms will be spinning. I expect we could see severe weather as early morning tomorrow. And then here comes that intense line after 3, 4, 5 o'clock. It moves even across the Allegheny Highlands and Greenbrier Valley, and you can see the line holds together here as more of a squall line, but even that could produce severe weather across the Roanoke Valley area and the foothills. And still behind this, we can have multiple rounds of storms tomorrow, 6, 7, 8 o'clock in the NRV. It's still raining very hard. And again, this is that time when people will be trying to trick or treat. Hopefully you're not. I don't encourage that. Hopefully you're near your safe place, because we'll be dealing with not only that, but probably some flooded roadways washing out as well. with 2 to 5 inches of rain on the way. So we advance this on through. Again, it's 5 to 10 o'clock east of the mountains, probably 2 to 5 west of the mountains tomorrow. But you can see just how heavy this rainfall is. This is 7 o'clock in the evening. So and again, if you were to try to go out in that and do your thing. Here, so this makes more sense. Across a good part of the area, maybe lower amounts to the east across south side, but most of Roanoke and the foothills and the NRV and mountains get clobbered with some heavier rainfall as we go into the day tomorrow. And if you were to look at multiple models kind of averaged together, you get another idea that some of that may go down somewhat because we'll maybe trade one threat for the other, but you're still looking at a lot of rain, at least 2 inches, and again, you could be looking at up to 5 inches in some locations. I believe this is the blend of all of them together, and again, you're looking, even with an average, you're looking at about 2 inches. So in my experience with heavy rain, you can sometimes see in these models that within the averaged area, you get some spikes there that can be double or triple that average. And I think tomorrow will be no different. This is one of the reasons we send these weather balloons up. This is the Greensboro weather balloon from this afternoon. And I'm looking at that amount of moisture in the air. The very top of this graph here, near the red, these are the records. These are the highest amounts ever observed. And look where the flashing dot is. That was today's. Let's see if we've got tonight's in yet. I don't think we have tonight's in yet, but you can see that this afternoon's weather balloon in Greensboro, by the way, this is the air that we're going to be getting tomorrow and later tonight. It's up there near the record. And if you were to bounce around here and go through Nashville, you're up there at a record in terms of this time of the year, how much moisture do you have in the air? Go to Atlanta, you go to Birmingham, and they're all up here. So that gives you a good idea that this is a unprecedented air mass that's moving in terms of producing those heavier amounts of rain that, again, the ground is actually fairly saturated, even though we're coming out of a drought. So this will continue to be an issue. And the high-res NAM, again, showing that line as well. This is centered on, actually, this is speeding it up considerably. This is no, I'm sorry, that's Eastern time. Okay. So this would be first thing in the morning, and then by 4 o'clock, it's moving into the mountains, and by 6 o'clock, it's over the Roanoke, Franklin County area, and then by 9 o'clock, it's almost out of here into the south side area, according to this. Again, these are all very, very similar. Now, aloft, if you were to go up at about jet stream level, you look at a big jet streak here. You can see two branches that kind of converge right here. There's one coming out of Kentucky and one coming out of the Carolinas, Western Carolinas. And then when they meet right there, that's called a jet streak. Within this jet streak, if you were on the corner that I am right now, where my I'm at the bottom right of the screen is what I mean to say. That's an area where you can see a lot of divergence aloft, and that sucks the moisture in from below, and that can give you a lot of heavy rain and severe weather. Now, looking at the wind below that, we're at a different direction. So again, we've got a lot of directional shear, but we've got a ton of wind. And as I advance this into the day tomorrow, by the morning, and even into the afternoon. Winds are going to be howling tomorrow just above our heads. So if you go up to about 5,000 feet tomorrow, you're looking at winds that are going to be over 50, 60, 70, and even at times up to 80 miles per hour tomorrow. That does two things. It allows for tornadoes to develop very easily because you've got so much wind, not only blowing in different speeds, but at low levels, but you also can bring those winds down. So let's say that line is only straight line winds. Let's say we don't get any tornadoes tomorrow. Because of that image right there, and because of the modeling, that's a low-level jet of about 70 miles per hour. Those winds will be very easily pulled down into any squall that develops tomorrow. So tomorrow's going to be a windy day regardless, but we could see power outages and a straight line wind event even if it's not spinning tomorrow. Okay, so any storm that develops tomorrow could produce damaging winds in a number of ways, either from tornadoes or some folks will call it isolated tornado, or from just widespread straight line winds. Going to be a gusty day tomorrow, even outside of the winds. 20 to 40 mile per hour gusts here, as indicated off the Euro. This is looking at 7 o'clock tomorrow evening. This is showing 52 knot winds in Lynchburg, and these may be a bit high. Hopefully they are, but we're looking at 40 knot plus or 45 mile per hour winds gusting up to that anyway at times during the evening tomorrow. This is right in advance of that line, and even behind the line for a short period Thursday night and the early Friday morning, we're looking at wind advisory criteria probably with winds out of the northwest in that same range, 20 to 40, maybe 45 miles per hour. This also shows you the same thing here. You can see the purples there out of the south, quite a bit of wind energy coming out of the south with this system. This is at the surface, and you see the brighter pinks here showing us where you could be looking at more damaging wind here as you go into the evening hours. And then behind it, you see the surge of cold that comes in behind it there with the winds there as well. I believe that's about all I've got. This is the sounding. Forecast soundings indicate the wind there coming out of the south and from the east, and then as you go up in the atmosphere, you get that quick turning there, and that's what produces the potential for tornadoes. So again, multiple threats with this system. You're looking at temperatures that are going to be warming up tonight, and then as you go into the morning hours of tomorrow, the thing you want to watch for is the chance for tornadoes and spinning storms even in the morning, especially across the mountains, as we've got the significant tornado parameter, which will be high and maybe highest actually in the mountainous areas, but no distinct warm front either. So balancing those two out, it's still a significant threat. We're in the enhanced area of severe weather potential. And so everybody needs to, stay aware of the forecast, the seriousness of this, and listen. You just can't go out tomorrow away from your home. You need to be nearby. You need to have a way to get multiple sources of weather information. So whether it's me or channel 7, 10, 13, Fox, whatever, via an app or something like that, or a weather radio. But you need to be able to either jump on Facebook or Twitter or get online or look at the TV. You need to have several ways of getting warnings. And all of us will tell you that, because that's what saves lives. Take it seriously. It's no need to panic. There's no need to panic, but I would say this is one of the more serious fall setups that I've seen in quite some time around the area. But just be advised that if watches are issued, I'll let you know about that. I'll keep you updated during the day tomorrow. And again, if warnings come out, that's the time to take action. So again, you may want to go ahead and start planning, especially if you live in a mobile home or a weakened structure. Those can be killers in tornadoes and even straight line wind events. So do you have a friend or family member with a basement? If you do, there may be an opportunity for you to maybe arrange something where you can be at that place at a certain time. Maybe you stay there tomorrow, during the day and evening, or maybe you're right up the road and say, I might have to, if a warning comes out, or a watch comes out even, you may want to relocate to a more sturdy shelter. I put out a statement earlier. Hopefully the localities it's up to them, and it's really not up to them either, but we'll move trick-or-treating to Friday or Saturday evening because, walking around in an enhanced risk, this is about as serious as you can get this time of the year with severe weather tornadoes and the flooding too. You're trying to dodge kids if you're driving. You're trying to dodge the trick-or-treaters, but you're also looking at storms that can distract you. You're looking at the fact that water is very hard to spot. When you get 2 to 5 inches of rain, you're going to be looking at flooding of low-lying areas, and you never want to drive across a flooded roadway. So I don't want to see kids out walking in that, and I'm sure you don't want your kids out in that either. And lightning on its own is a killer. So there's just so much to consider, and I'll be watching this for you very carefully throughout the night tonight, even early tomorrow morning, because I do think we could see this again develop as early as 7 o'clock in the morning tomorrow. I'm going to try to summarize this in a post, and some of my Patreon followers will get some information on this as well. Thanks to everyone for watching for right now. Thanks to our sponsor, Southern Trust Home Services, and more information is coming down the pike for tomorrow.